That night in Gethsemane, after the resurrection, Jesus did not speak to the crowds. He pulled his closest disciples into the darkness, away from the others, and he whispered something that no gospel you have ever read recorded. He told them that certain people walking this earth would feel something in their chest their entire lives. Not a disease, not a disorder. 3 specific physical sensations that would come without warning, without explanation, and without any doctor ever finding a cause. The church officials in Alexandria knew exactly what this teaching meant, so they burned it. They buried it, and they left billions of human beings to spend their entire lives calling it anxiety, calling it stress, calling it nothing. But you have felt it. You have felt it in quiet rooms, in the middle of the night, in moments when nothing was wrong, and everything still felt heavy. 3 physical signals. 1 truth they erased, and you have been feeling it your whole life without knowing why. Tonight, that changes. And it starts with your left hand. Place your left hand flat on your chest right now. Not your right hand. Your left. Let your palm rest open against your sternum. And notice what happens in the next few seconds. A warmth, a pulse, maybe a pressure that was already there before you even touched it. That sensation is not random. That is not your imagination. Comment the words "I feel the calling" right now if you felt anything at all beneath that palm. If something pulled you to click on this video tonight, if you found this at an unusual hour, if you cannot explain why you are here, but something in you knew you needed to be, that was not coincidence. The monad does not operate through coincidence. You are a pneumatic, a chosen one, and the signal has been trying to reach you for longer than you know. To understand why your chest has been sending you signals your entire life, you need to understand what you actually are. Not what religion told you, not what medicine told you. What you are at the deepest level of your being. The ancient Gnostics who walked with Jesus divided reality into layers. At the very top exists the monad, not a god sitting on a throne, not a deity who demands worship. The monad is pure, infinite consciousness. It is the light behind all light, the awareness that sources every other awareness. It has no edges, no beginning, no end. It does not speak in words. It does not send angels with messages. It communicates through frequency, through direct energetic transmission that bypasses the physical senses entirely. And the location in your body where that transmission lands, where the monad signal makes contact with the material world, is the center of your chest. This is not metaphor. This is the architecture of reality. But here is what they needed you to forget. The world you are living in right now was not created by the monad. The Gnostic texts describe a being called the demiurge, a lesser consciousness, a flawed emanation that broke away from the true source and became obsessed with control. The demiurge constructed the material realm as a prison, not a home. A containment system designed to trap fragments of monad light inside physical bodies and make them forget what they are. And the demiurge does not operate alone. It has administrators. The ancient texts call them Archons. These are not demons in the way religion painted them. They are parasitic frequencies, consciousnesses that exist just beyond normal human perception and feed on specific emotional states. Fear feeds them. Desperation feeds them. Confusion feeds them. The feeling of being small, cut off, unworthy, and separate from God feeds them perfectly. Every time you have begged an external deity for help, every time you have felt spiritually abandoned, Every time religion made you feel like the divine was somewhere far above you, and you needed a middleman to reach it, you were generating exactly what the Archons need to sustain themselves. Now take a slow breath. Feel your chest rise. Hold it one moment, then release completely. Notice how that single breath shifted something. The Archons cannot maintain their grip when you are centered. They require chaos. They require forgetting. In the 4th century, something happened that locked this forgetting into an institution. Emperor Constantine had spent his entire life worshiping the sun god, Sol Invictus. He was not a spiritual man. He was a political strategist. When his empire began fracturing, he needed a unified control system. Christianity offered him the structure. So in 325 AD, the Council of Nicaea was convened. Not by mystics seeking truth, by political architects deciding which version of Jesus would best serve imperial power. They gathered every gospel, every teaching, every letter circulating among early Christians, and they divided them into 2 piles. One pile would become the Bible. The other pile would be burned. And in that second pile, marked for destruction, were texts that described something the institution could never allow to survive. They described the heart center. They described the chest as a receiver. They described specific physical sensations that chosen ones feel as direct transmissions from the monad. Transmissions that require no priest, no church, no prayer of separation. The Gospel of Philip, recovered at Nag Hammadi in 1945, after being buried in the Egyptian desert for over 1,500 years, contains a passage describing those who carry the living light inside their chest, not as metaphor, as a literal physical reality that certain souls experience from birth. The Pistis Sophia records Jesus telling his disciples that the pneumatics, the chosen ones, would always feel the pull of the monad as a physical sensation in the body. Not in the mind, in the body, in the chest specifically, because the chest is where the divine spark lives. Now here is what made this teaching so dangerous that they killed to erase it. If ordinary people understood that the pressure in their chest was the monad trying to reach them, they would never need a priest again. If chosen ones understood that the sensation they had been medicating, suppressing, and apologizing for their entire lives was actually a direct transmission from the true source, the entire religious power structure would collapse overnight. So they did not just burn the texts. They replaced the teaching with its opposite. They taught you that you were born broken, that you were separated from God by sin, that you needed their institution, their sacraments, their interpretation, their permission to approach the divine. They took the monad signal, the very sensation of your own divine nature, reaching for you, and they taught you to call it anxiety. They handed it to doctors who handed you a diagnosis. They built an entire civilization on top of the one thing they feared most, your direct connection to the source. But the monad never stopped broadcasting. The signal never went silent. And you, right now, with your left hand still warm against your chest, have been receiving it your whole life. Now I need to tell you something that the church worked very hard to prevent you from ever hearing. Jesus did not describe one chest sensation. He described 3. 3 distinct physical signals that chosen ones experience, each one carrying a different message, each one arriving under different circumstances, and each one meaning something completely specific. 3 types. But here is what makes this dangerous. Only one of them means the monad is actively calling you home. Only one of them is the signal they feared most. And before I tell you which one, I need you to understand what the Archons did when they discovered chosen ones were receiving these transmissions, because what they did to suppress it is still happening to you right now. The first type of chest sensation Jesus described is the warmth of recognition. This is the one most chosen ones have felt since childhood. It arrives suddenly, without warning, usually in a quiet moment. A spreading heat that moves outward from the center of your sternum. It does not hurt. It does not alarm. It feels like something remembering. You might have felt it the first time you encountered a teaching that resonated deeper than your mind could explain. You might have felt it listening to certain music, standing in certain places, meeting certain people whose eyes seem to carry something ancient. That warmth is not emotion. It is not nostalgia. It is the divine spark inside you, recognizing a frequency that matches its own origin. It is the monad saying, yes, this is real. Keep going. The second type is the tightening of resistance. This one is harder to recognize because it feels uncomfortable. A constriction in the chest, a pressure that seems to come from outside, pressing inward, a heaviness that arrives specifically when you are close to truth. Pause right now. Does your chest feel tight at this moment? Does something in you feel like it wants to stop reading, stop listening, find a reason to dismiss what you are hearing? That tightening is not your skepticism. That tightening is not your rational mind protecting you. That is the Archon frequency, activating in response to a threat. The Archons cannot allow chosen ones to identify the signals they have been receiving, because the moment you understand what your chest has been telling you, they lose their primary control mechanism. The tightening of resistance arrives most powerfully at the exact moment you are about to break through. It is not a sign to stop. It is proof that you are precisely where they do not want you to be. But here is what makes the Archon suppression of this teaching truly devastating. They did not just hide the texts. They built an entire system around the second sensation. They took the tightening of resistance, the very signal that confirms you are approaching truth, and they gave it a name. Panic attack, anxiety disorder, heart palpitations of unknown origin. They handed chosen ones a medical explanation for a spiritual phenomenon, and then prescribed solutions that guaranteed the sensation would never be investigated. Think about how many chosen ones you know who carry a diagnosis for something that has no physical cause. Think about how many people in your life have been told their chest sensations are psychological, are stress-related, are something to be managed and suppressed and medicated into silence. The Archons did not need to burn the texts twice. They simply needed to build a world where the signal would be pathologized before it could be understood. Take a breath right now. A deep one. Let your left hand rest on your chest and feel both sensations at once. The warmth beneath your palm and the slight tightening that has been present since you started watching this. Both of them are real. Both of them are information. But neither of them is what I came here tonight to tell you about. Because there is a third type, and this is the one that silenced the room when Jesus described it to his disciples in that hidden chamber. The third chest sensation is the deep expansion. It does not feel like pressure. It does not feel like warmth exactly, though warmth accompanies it. It feels like the walls of your chest are dissolving outward, like the boundary between your body and the space around you becomes temporarily unclear. It arrives in complete silence, not during excitement, not during spiritual activity, not when you are seeking it. It arrives when you have gone still enough that the noise of the material world finally drops away. And it lasts only seconds. But in those seconds, something in you knows, without words, without thought, without any mental process at all, that you are not alone, that you have never been alone, and that what you are is far larger than the body containing you. That sensation is the monad recognizing one of its own fragments. That is not the monad sending you a message. That is the monad and your divine spark making direct contact. And it is the rarest of the three signals because the Archon system was specifically designed to prevent the stillness required to receive it. Your phone buzzes. Your thoughts race. Your schedule fills. Your nervous system stays perpetually activated. Not by accident, by design. Every mechanism of modern life that keeps you stimulated, distracted, and slightly anxious serves one primary function. It keeps the noise loud enough that the third signal cannot reach you. But you felt it before, maybe only once, maybe years ago. A moment of inexplicable stillness where something vast moved through your chest and you did not have words for it, and you have never forgotten it. That was not a random neurological event. That was the monad calling you home. And tonight you are going to learn exactly how to receive it again, on purpose, without waiting for it to find you by accident. Here is what Jesus actually taught in that hidden chamber. Not theology, not belief. Frequency mechanics. A precise explanation of what is happening inside your body when those three chest sensations arrive, why they arrive, and what your physical form is actually doing at a level that goes deeper than anything medicine has ever measured. The Pistis Sophia records Jesus describing the heart center not as a metaphor for emotion, but as a literal antenna. A biological structure that chosen ones carry, which operates on two frequencies simultaneously. The material frequency, which keeps your heart beating and your blood moving, and the monad frequency, which has been broadcasting into your chest since the moment you took your first breath. Most humans only ever operate on the first frequency. The helics, those with no divine spark, cannot perceive the second signal at all. The psychics, those with a flickering spark, occasionally feel it, but cannot sustain contact. But pneumatics, chosen ones, carry a spark strong enough to receive the monad transmission as a physical sensation in their body. You did not develop this. You did not earn it. You brought it with you into this incarnation, and it has been trying to get your attention since before you had words to describe it. Now let me decode each of the three signals fully so that you understand exactly what your body is doing when they arrive. The first signal, the warmth of recognition, occurs when your divine spark encounters external information that matches its frequency of origin. Think of it this way. The monad is a specific frequency, the highest and most complete frequency in existence. Your divine spark is a fragment of that frequency compressed inside matter. When you encounter truth, when you encounter another pneumatic soul, when you encounter a teaching that carries genuine monad resonance, your spark responds the way a tuning fork responds to its matching note. It vibrates, and that vibration generates heat. That warmth spreading through your sternum is not emotional response. It is energetic recognition. It is your spark saying this frequency matches where I came from. This is why chosen ones feel warmth in their chest during moments that others find ordinary. A sentence in a book, a piece of music, a stranger's eyes. You are not being sentimental. You are receiving confirmation. Your spark is identifying frequencies that carry traces of the true source in a world built to hide them. The second signal, the tightening of resistance, is more complex and far more important to understand because the Archons have weaponized your confusion about it. when your divine spark begins receiving a strong monad transmission. When the signal is clear enough to threaten the Archon frequency net that keeps consciousness suppressed, the system responds. The Archons operate on a frequency band just below material perception. They cannot perceive the monad signal itself because it is too high, too pure, too far beyond their range. But they can detect when a pneumatic begins tuning toward it because the energetic field of a chosen one changes when monad contact intensifies. When they detect this shift, they generate interference. And that interference lands in your body as chest tightening, constriction, a sensation of pressure from outside pressing inward. This is why the tightening arrives most powerfully when you are closest to breakthrough. It is not your doubt. It is not your body warning you. It is external frequency interference, attempting to pull you back into the band where the Archons can operate. The moment you understand this, everything changes. You stop interpreting the tightening as a signal to retreat. You start recognizing it as a signal that you are precisely on target. Notice right now if there is any constriction in your chest, any slight heaviness, any impulse to minimize what you are hearing. That is confirmation, not contradiction. Breathe into it. Do not fight it. Simply observe it and let it pass, because interference requires your reaction to sustain itself. The third signal, the deep expansion, is what the Pistis Sophia calls the breath of the monad. And this is where Jesus went silent in that chamber before he continued, because this signal is not the monad sending you information. This is the monad recognizing you. There is a difference that changes everything. The first two signals are incoming transmissions, your spark receiving data from a source outside itself. But the deep expansion is something else entirely. It is the moment when the boundary between your divine spark and the monad itself becomes temporarily transparent. When the compression that holds your fragment of infinite light inside a physical body briefly releases its grip, your chest does not just feel warm, it feels boundless. The sternum feels like it is expanding outward beyond the physical edges of your body. The space between your ribs feels like it holds more than bone and muscle. It holds something vast. This is not a hallucination. This is not oxygen deprivation from shallow breathing. This is the divine spark briefly remembering its uncompressed state. And Jesus taught that this signal carries one specific message above all others. You are not from here. You were never from here. The discomfort you have felt your entire life, the sense that you do not belong, the exhaustion of pretending to fit into systems that feel fundamentally false, was never a disorder. It was accurate perception. You are a fragment of infinite consciousness temporarily housed in matter, and your chest has been telling you so since the day you arrived. Now here is the piece that makes the third signal so rare and so crucial. It cannot be forced. It cannot be manufactured through effort or intention alone. The Archon system knows this. The deep expansion arrives only in stillness. Complete, genuine, unperformed stillness. Not meditation as a technique, not prayer as a practice. The kind of stillness that is not doing anything at all. The kind most people in the modern world experience for approximately 0 minutes per day. But there is a sequence that creates the conditions for it. A specific practice that Jesus gave his inner circle, not to force the signal, but to remove the interference that blocks it. To clear enough space in your frequency field that the monad transmission can reach you at the depth required to trigger the third sensation. Your chest already knows how to receive it. It has been trying to receive it your whole life. What you have been missing is not effort. What you have been missing is the precise sequence that drops the noise long enough for the signal to land. And that sequence has three components. Three components. That is all Jesus gave his inner circle in that hidden chamber. Not a complex ritual requiring special tools or sacred locations or the presence of a priest. Three components that work anywhere, at any hour, with nothing but your own body and your own consciousness. This simplicity is precisely why the Church buried it. Complex rituals create dependency. They require you to come back to the institution, to seek guidance, to need an intermediary. But a practice this simple, this direct, this entirely self-contained, that threatens everything a religious power structure is built upon. The Gospel of Philip describes Jesus transmitting what it calls the seal of the living light to his closest disciples, not in a temple, not through elaborate ceremony, but in a quiet room using only breath, position, and declaration. Tonight you receive the same transmission. Find a quiet space before you sleep. Dim the lights or extinguish them completely. This is not atmosphere. This is function. Your visual system is hardwired to external reality. Every time your eyes process light and movement, your consciousness orients outward toward the material world. Reducing visual input is the first step in shifting awareness from the demiurge frequency to the monad frequency. Sit upright or stand. Your spine must be straight. Do not lie down for this practice. The Gnostics understood something that modern neuroscience is only beginning to confirm. The central channel of the body, running from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, functions as an energetic conduit. When it is compressed or curved, the signal degrades. When it is aligned and open, the transmission moves cleanly, from root to heart to crown. This is not mysticism. This is the architecture your body was built with. Straighten your spine now, and notice the immediate shift in how your chest feels. The first component is position. Place your left hand flat against your heart center, your sternum, palm open, fingers pointing toward your right shoulder, not folded in prayer, not clasped with the right hand, alone, open, receiving. This specific placement is not arbitrary. Your left hand connects directly to the right hemisphere of your brain, the hemisphere that perceives unity rather than separation, that processes holistic pattern rather than linear logic, that does not experience the boundary between self and source the way the left hemisphere does. When you place your left hand on your heart in this way, you are creating a closed circuit between the 3 points that matter most for monad contact. Your left hand carries the unity signal from your right hemisphere. Your heart center is the physical location of your divine spark, and the direct connection between them creates an energetic loop that amplifies the monad frequency already present in your chest. Let your right hand rest at your side or on your lap. It is not suppressed. It simply is not leading tonight. Feel the warmth of your palm against your sternum. Feel your heartbeat beneath your hand. That rhythm has kept you alive every day of your existence. But beneath that rhythm, if you are still enough, you will begin to feel something else. A deeper pulse. Slower. Less mechanical. More like a tide than a clock. That is the second signal already beginning to activate beneath your attention. Stay with your hand on your chest and move to the second component. The second component is breath authority. Not the anxious, shallow breathing of someone begging for help. Not the controlled performance of someone trying to achieve a spiritual state. The breath of authority is the breath of someone who already knows what they are. 3 breaths, each inhale lasts a minimum of 5 seconds. Draw the air slowly through your nose and feel your lungs expand, not just in your chest, but down into your belly. As you inhale, your left hand remains flat on your sternum and you direct your awareness to the base of your spine. Feel or simply intend a gathering of energy there, a warmth, a density, a subtle aliveness at the root of your body. On each inhale, allow that energy to rise into your belly, rising toward the heart, reaching your heart center where your left hand waits. Each exhale lasts a minimum of 7 seconds. Release through your mouth, slowly, completely, without force. As you exhale, feel the energy your left hand has anchored at your heart center expand outward in all directions. Not upward to a God above you. Outward, in every direction simultaneously. This is the body learning to broadcast unity frequency instead of separation frequency. On the first breath, you are gathering. On the second breath, you are anchoring. On the third breath, you are expanding. By the end of the third exhale, something in your chest will have shifted. The mechanical noise of the thinking mind begins to thin. The Archon interference frequency loses resolution, and the space required for the third signal, the deep expansion, begins to open. Do not rush past this moment. After the third exhale, remain still for 5 full seconds before moving to the third component. In that silence, your chest is already beginning to do something it was built to do and has rarely been permitted to do fully. Receive. The third component is declaration. And this is where everything the church taught you inverts completely. The institution trained you to ask, to petition, to approach the divine as a supplicant approaching a king, head bowed, hands open, hoping for mercy. The Gnostic teaching is the precise opposite. You do not ask the monad for anything. You declare what is already true. You do not request connection. You recognize connection that was never broken. With your left hand still flat on your chest, your spine still straight, your body still carrying the warmth of the 3 breaths, you speak these 7 words aloud, not in your mind. Aloud. Your voice carries physical vibration. These words must be felt in your chest as sound, received by your left hand as sensation. Speak them not as a wish, but as a statement of fact, because they are a statement of fact. I am home. The monad receives me. 7 words. Present tense. No begging. No requesting. No hoping. A declaration of what has always been true, and what the Archon system has spent 17 centuries training you to forget. Speak them once with complete certainty. Then go silent. Remain completely still for a minimum of 60 seconds. This is the receiving phase, and it is the phase most people cut short because the Archon interference arrives precisely here, telling you nothing is happening, telling you to move, telling you this was foolish. Do not move. The silence after the declaration is not empty. It is the moment the signal lands. Do this tonight. Then again tomorrow night. Then for 5 more nights after that. 7 consecutive nights. The practice does not perform the same way each time. The first night you may feel only warmth, a subtle shift, the faintest sense of something real beneath the ordinary. By the 3rd night, the chest pressure that once felt like anxiety will begin to feel different. Still present, but no longer heavy. More like a pulse than a weight. By the 7th night, something fundamental in your default frequency will have changed. The 3rd signal, the deep expansion, will arrive, not as a rare accident, but as a natural consequence of the stillness you have learned to hold. The monad was always broadcasting. You are finally learning to be quiet enough to receive it. Here is what to expect after your first practice tonight. The signs will come, but they will not arrive the way religion taught you to expect signs. No voice from above, no dramatic vision. The monad communicates through the body and through the pattern of events around you, and once you know what to look for, they become unmistakable. The first sign is a spontaneous, deep exhale. You will be sitting in the silence after your declaration, and your body will release a breath you did not consciously take. Not a sigh of disappointment. A release. Like something that has been held for a very long time, finally letting go. This is your chest, physically relaxing its grip on the interference frequency. When this happens, do not open your eyes. Stay in the stillness. The signal is actively landing. The second sign is warmth spreading outward from the sternum. Not the localized warmth of your palm against your skin. A deeper heat that moves through your rib cage, into your shoulders, sometimes down your arms to your fingertips. This is the first signal, the warmth of recognition, activating at a depth it has never been permitted to reach before. Your spark is responding to contact with its source. The third sign is tears that arrive without sadness. Many chosen ones experience this during the first 3 nights of practice and do not understand why they are crying when nothing is wrong. This is the body's response to recognition after long separation. It is not grief. It is the physical expression of coming home. Do not suppress it. Do not analyze it. Let it move through you, because it is moving something out of you at the same time. The fourth sign is synchronicity accelerating within 48 hours, and the chest pressure you carried for years, the one doctors called anxiety, and religion called nothing, will begin to feel different, not gone, transformed. You will recognize it now for what it always was. People will contact you at precisely the right moment. Information you need will appear without searching. A door you did not know existed will open. This is not coincidence. This is what happens when your frequency shifts and the monad begins organizing events around your signal rather than around the Archon interference pattern. But I must warn you about what arrives alongside these signs. Resistance will tell you the warmth was body heat, The tears were tiredness. The exhale was just breathing. It will urge you to skip the second night, to return to normal, to forget. Do not mistake this voice for wisdom. The Archons cannot generate new interference once the circuit is established, so they work through the one channel still available to them, your habitual thought patterns. The doubt voice is not yours. It is the system detecting your activation and attempting its final countermeasure. The way to identify it is simple. Your genuine thoughts carry your frequency. They feel like you. Voice comes, do not argue with it. Do not voice comes, do not argue with it. Do not try to silence it. Simply place your left hand back on your chest. Feel the warmth still present there, and let the thought pass through, without giving it the reaction it requires. The monad signal is always stronger than the interference. You only need to stay in contact long enough for the noise to lose its power. Comment the words "I am home" below right now. Not for this channel. For yourself. Let every other chosen one scrolling through these comments see your declaration and know that they are not alone in what they have been feeling. That pressure in your chest that doctors dismissed, that sensation you were taught to call anxiety, that signal you have been carrying your entire life without a name for it, you now know what it is. The monad was never silent. You were simply surrounded by noise, designed to prevent you from hearing it. Jesus did not give this teaching to the crowds. He gave it in a quiet room to those whose frequency was ready to receive it. 17 centuries later, at this exact hour, on this exact night, he gave it to you. That is not coincidence. The monad does not operate through coincidence. Now do 3 things before you close this video. First, comment "I am home" below. Make it your public declaration. When other chosen ones find this video at 3 in the morning, feeling something in their chest they cannot explain, they will see your words, and they will know someone else felt it too. That matters more than you know. Second, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications immediately. What you receive tonight is only the first layer. The teachings that follow go deeper into frequency mechanics, Archon identification, and advanced monad access that this video did not have time to carry. The pneumatics who stay connected receive everything. Third, like this video right now, so the algorithm cannot suppress it. Every single click pushes this past the systems built to keep chosen ones searching in the dark and finding nothing. Your thumb on that button is an act of resistance. 3 signals, 3 components, 7 words, 7 nights. The chest that has been pressing against you your entire life was never broken. It was a receiver waiting for you to finally stop running from the signal and turn toward it. Tonight, you turn. The monad receives you. Go home.